Manchester United reject a £40 million bid for Alejandro Garnacho. Hat-trick hero Amad Diallo saves our skin again. Dortmund are now pushing for Marcus Rashford as we get linked with interest in Jamie Gittens. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name is Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So, gonna kick off. Let's have a bit of a chat around last night's performance, shall we? Let me know in the comments, what did you think of the game last night? Obviously, I'm very thankful today to Amad Diallo for saving our skin, because that performance for about 60 to 70 minutes was up there with the worst ever, and that's saying something with this team, because you know they've sprung up some massive turd performances in recent times. And that was the worry before the game, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? Can we perform against teams like Southampton when we're trying to dominate and we're expected to win? And the answer is no, we can't. I don't know what it is. Mentality? Is it fitness? Is it just the quality of players we've got in the team? It's a massive issue for Ruben Amorim to try and work out. You know, and let's be real, if the scoreline was reversed, I don't think anyone would have had any complaints about the game. We were that bad. It was just simply awful. You know, we should have and probably could have been 3-4-0 down at half-time if it wasn't for Onana. It was, you know, we made one of the worst teams in Premier League history that only has 6 points this season look like prime Barcelona. That's how bad we were. There were just spaces all over the pitch, no energy. We just looked completely flat and out of ideas. You know, and that's concerning as well, because yes, we played extra time and penalties against Arsenal. We've been away to Anfield, you know, but Arsenal played Tottenham a day earlier than us as well, and they didn't look leggy and they didn't look tired. But that's obviously a fitness issue. It's obviously a massive fitness issue at United. Like, what on earth were they doing in pre-season and stuff under Ten Hag? Because they don't look like, none of these players look like they can play 2 games in a week, because the drop-off was huge, you know, and I thought that's probably part of the problem as well. The squad depth is a massive issue, because we cannot rotate players, because the drop-off between Mainu and Ugarte, who were both poor yesterday as well, is Casemiro and Eriksen, and they were even worse against Newcastle. So the drop-off in the mid, and that's just the midfield. We've got, you know, only 2 fullbacks that are capable, and they can't play every game, obviously. And then if Diallo gets injured or Mazraoui gets injured, obviously Diallo was suspended as well, then you know, we've just got no kind of depth in the squad to be able to rotate anybody. And that's a massive issue, because obviously we've got players that do need to be rotated. Yeah, it's just an absolute nightmare, isn't it? But thankfully, we've got this man, Amad Diallo. What an outstanding... Actually, it was a game of irony, I thought, as well, right? Because I actually thought Amad was having one of his worst games up until the 80th minute. And then, you know, he does what he does. Absolutely outstanding kind of finish to the game for Amad. But before that, I actually thought he was pretty poor as well, which was ironic, because he ended up scoring a hat-trick and becoming man of the match. Absolutely outstanding hat-trick for Amad Diallo. I want to give a shout-out as well to Joshua Zirkzee. I thought he changed the game for us when he came on, because Højlund was just absolutely non-existent. His hold-up play has got worse, and it wasn't very good anyway. He was absolutely terrible. I felt when he runs in behind, he was actually all right, because he created the chance for Garnacho, who basically missed an open goal. That was a terrible finish by him. But his Højlund, his hold-up play has got worse, and it wasn't that good anyway, to be fair. So, but Joshua Zirkzee, I thought, came on, at least gave us a bit of a focal point. He was holding the ball up and laying it off. Got unlucky on a couple of occasions as well. A little bit of poor decision-making as well. But I thought Joshua Zirkzee was outstanding. And again, it's a little bit ironic, because the last time he played at Old Trafford, he was hoofed off after 30 minutes because the team were performing that bad. And he came on and actually, you know, had an outstanding 30 to 40-minute performance as well, which is ironic when you kind of compare the two kind of performances. So shout out to Joshua Zirkzee. And then I felt Toby Collier also changed the game for us as well. He had a really outstanding showing in the second half. We needed some energy in midfield, you know, and actually he was really good on the ball as well, kept it simple, you know, a bit press resistant as well. So it was nice to kind of see a little bit more of Toby Collier on the ball, because that's always been the question mark regarding him. But energy, athleticism, height, fight. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of really been impressive in his few cameos recently, and considering the drop off, like Mainu was, he might as well have not been on the pitch. He was that bad first half. I felt Kobe Mainu. Ugarte was not much better, although he was probably our better midfielder on the ball, but he looked really kind of leggy. And Amram said that in the press conference after the game as well, that he was pretty much tired from the first minute, which is a massive worry because he's our kind of warrior in midfield. But again, does it go back to the fact that he is having to play every game because the drop-off between him and Casemiro is night and day for us? But Toby Collier could be a little bit of a solution for that, and somebody that could hopefully, if he carries on developing like that, being a shout to start games, because I thought he was excellent when he came on as well. And let me know in the comments, what are we saying? What are we thinking? That was absolutely shocking, that miss. I mean, he's an £85 million one-footed player anyway, and he's a yard from goal, and he can't even tap the ball into the net with his right foot. I genuinely think, right, like at halftime or before games and stuff, right, they have, kids on the pitch that take penalties against the mascots and stuff. I genuinely think a child would have been able to put that ball in the net from where he was. It was absolutely embarrassing. Absolutely, yeah. But thankfully, overall, a win is a win ultimately, and we're in that position where we just need wins. We just need wins. Performances can come later on. Players are learning the system. We've got young players. I felt Lenny Yoro, he must have nausea this morning because he was getting turned inside out by Southampton's winger because he was isolated. He had a pretty bad kind of showing. Like I said, Mainu, non-existent for the first half. Not surprised he got substituted at halftime. But you could go through the team, and I don't think anyone, Onana kept us in the game. Ahmad won us the game. Bruno C was all right, but he was still a little bit kind of sluggish, and it was just a really, really bad performance. But we're in a position where a win is a win. Take it all day long, because like Ruben Amorim says, look, we need time to train and develop, and we've got to win time, and to win time, you've got to win games. So ultimately it was a win, which I'm kind of happy about, but it was just a terrible performance, wasn't it? That was a really hard watch for the first, for the first 60 minutes, 60, 70 minutes, and then obviously a frantic finish at the end. But fair play to Amad Diallo saving our bacon. Absolutely outstanding finish to the game for him, and well deserved as well. And it's crazy to think that if Erik ten Hag was here, Amad Diallo would be speaking to other clubs now and probably not signing a new contract, because Erik ten Hag, let's not forget, he was playing Omari Forson ahead of Amad Diallo this time last season. He was also playing Anthony ahead of Amad Diallo as well. So he's kind of like a year behind in his development as well. Imagine how good he's going to be, going forward next season once he gets a full Premier League season under his belt. Got to be our player of the year so far. Like, he's been absolutely outstanding. And just on that, Ahmed is the first Manchester United player to score a Premier League hat-trick since Cristiano Ronaldo in 2022. Ahmed is the third player in Premier League history to score 3 times in the last 10 minutes of a game, after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer versus Forest in February 1999 and Wayne Rooney versus Hull in January 2010. And only Wayne Rooney, who was 21 years old in 4 days against Bolton, has scored a Premier League hat-trick for Manchester United at a younger age than Ahmad. Absolutely outstanding player. So happy we've got him down on his new contract. So happy that, Ruud kind of started playing him once Ten Hag got sacked, but Amorim's kind of picked up that mantle. He's our most important player. We need a kind of, without him, I genuinely think we'd be in a relegation fight, because the rest of the squad are just not capable of performing week in, week out. But Ahmad saved our bacon yesterday. But overall, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how you felt about the performance. Let me know what you kind of think about the result. Love to hear your opinions on it. Give us a shout below. Let us know. Let's go through the transfer news. So, Napoli have contacted Manchester United for Alejandro Garnacho, but the club are not actively looking to sell him, and the figures Napoli have mentioned so far are far from the value that would make the club think. Now, that came from David Ornstein and Laurie Whitwell, the most credible sources, I think, when it comes specifically to Manchester United news, saying that there has been, or confirming that there is contact between Napoli and Garnacho. The club are not looking to sell him for the figures that are being mentioned, and far from the value. So it's going back to what we've been saying over the last few days. Unless we get like a big offer, the club are not going to accept or not looking to necessarily sell Garnacho. However, there's been more news. So there's a significant gulf in valuation between Napoli and Manchester United for Alejandro Garnacho. United are not actively looking or pushing to sell in January and will only meaningfully engage if an offer similar to the package for Kubica Kvaratskhelia is made, which is 70 million euros plus. That came from Ben Jacobs. The Mirror was saying, though, that Manchester United have rejected a £40 million offer from Napoli for Alejandro Garnacho. United have told Napoli it would take 60 million to sign him. Garnacho is keen to leave United and join Napoli. However, and then there's been more kind of, because the Mirror are hit and miss. I wouldn't say they're necessarily a credible source, but Florian Plettenberg has said that negotiations are underway between Napoli and Manchester United for the transfer of Alejandro Garnacho. Alfredo Padula has been pretty decent with the news regarding this situation. Has said that Napoli are set to submit an increased offer for Alejandro Garnacho. Samuel Luckhurst from the Manchester Evening News, who is a shit stirrer, but he's got good sources, said that Napoli are unlikely to meet Manchester United's valuation of Garnacho and are now exploring other targets. Napoli have had an offer of around £40 million rejected. So according to Samuel Luckhurst, Napoli have bid for Garnacho £40 million, which United have rejected. They're exploring other targets, but that sounds like negotiation games to me. We did the similar thing with Branthwaite, if you remember, in the summer. We were like 50 million plus 5 million add-ons, take it or leave it, or we're going to look at other targets. And then a few weeks later, we were like, well, do you want 55 plus 5 in add-ons? And came back to the table for a bid. But, we are stupid at transfers, so that might just be us. Napoli might be a little bit more ruthless. We're like, okay, well, sod you, we're going to move on and go and get somebody else as well. But the fact they've had a £40 million offer rejected, no smoke without fire. So it is kind of heating up regarding that situation. Simon Stone, is a very, very credible source from the BBC, said that also confirmed it that Manchester United have rejected Napoli's bid of around £40 million for Alejandro Garnacho, as it falls well below their valuation of the player, which begs, 60, I think maybe 50, 55 plus add-ons and incentives and sell-on, all this kind of stuff. Might be a bit more realistic, because if you got to think, if we're saying 70 and they're offering 40, there's normally a middle ground where a deal could get done for, which would be around 50, 55 million plus some add-ons and, incentives and sell-on clauses, all this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Would be to push it up. So we could end up getting the 70, but through things like, appearance bonuses and title bonuses and Ballon d'Or bonuses and all the kind of shite that we do with our players when we sign them as well. Like Anthony's got a Ballon d'Or bonus in his contract as well. Let's hope he gets there, because he's really good. But yeah, so that's the kind of the situation regarding Garnacho at the moment. Dimarzio has said that Napoli's plan is to convince Alejandro Garnacho to join them and then hope Manchester United lower their request. So, that's pretty much transfer tactics anyway, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You only go for a player that you're interested in signing or that wants to come, and that's the kind of takeaway from that, is that there's Napoli wouldn't bid £40 million for Garnacho if Garnacho hadn't given them the green light that he wanted to move to them. They just wouldn't. It's a total waste of everybody's time. So the fact that they've had a £40 million bid rejected seems to suggest that Garnacho would be interested in the move. And if you remember back, the new noise over the last few days has been, look, if we get a good bid and Garnacho wants to go, then we'll probably accept it. So and one of those is kind of, it must be, Garnacho must have want to go there. And then the final piece of the jigsaw is just the kind of price and valuation. But whether Napoli come back in, whether they'll wait till the end of the transfer market. Remember, there were stories the other day about teams thinking that United will get desperate towards the end of January and it'll sell their players for a lower price. That can't be ruled out neither as well. But it's definitely kind of heating up around the potential Garnacho exit. Love your opinions on that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you okay with that? Do you think, 40, what do you think the price for Garnacho should be as well? Let me know what you think, because I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Now, one of the other players that we're heavily linked with removing is Rashford. Now, Borussia Dortmund are now pushing to sign Marcus Rashford on loan. New talks have taken place. AC Milan are also actively trying to secure the deal. Now, that came from Florian Plettenberg, who's normally pretty reliable, specifically when it comes to German clubs and kind of players. And now Germany's not so credible, I don't think, outside of Germany. So that's one to kind of pay attention to. Romano did say a similar thing, though, as well, where Dortmund are kind of pushing to maybe get that deal, which is one to keep an eye on. But it's the same with Rashford. There's still no real news on it. It's, I think not Juventus now. Dortmund, Barcelona, AC Milan seem to be the three main clubs kind of going for Rashford. The rest is just kind of as we were last week, really, in terms of the news. But Florian Plettenberg also said Manchester United are seriously interested in Dortmund player Jamie Gittens. Now, that would be a really interesting option to kind of bring in. I'd actually have him on my top 5 players to bring in as like not necessarily a Rashford replacement or a Garnacho replacement, like somebody to kind of bring in that inside kind of number 10 positions. Jamie Gittens would be on my top 5. I would have Gittens, Nico Williams, Cunha, Quenda, and Tyler Dibbling. Just on that, how good was Tyler Dibbling yesterday as well? Forgot to mention that when I did the match review. Yeah, we should be looking at that player. He was the best player on the pitch, I felt, until he went off. Absolutely outstanding young player. Like, we should be definitely looking to do something with Tyler Dibbling because he looks a really, really special player. But yeah, they would be my personal 5s. Give us a shout in the comments below. Let me know yours. So Jamie Gittens, 25 appearances this season, 11 goals, 5 assists. Right-footed left winger, because obviously Dortmund play like a different system. Can probably play on the inside as well. Fast, good dribbler. Only kind of worry I have with him is he's got a similar path to Sancho. And when we buy Dortmund players, it doesn't normally work out very well for us. Mkhitaryan, Shinji Kagawa, Jadon Sancho, do you know what I mean? Were all like really good players for Dortmund. Came to United and didn't quite make the grade. Like, Kagawa is one of my kind of players that I was devastated about that it didn't work out for, because he was absolutely outstanding for Dortmund. I mean, Mkhitaryan wasn't exactly bad neither as well, but we don't necessarily have a really good track record at signing Dortmund players. Plus, he was at Man City's youth as well, so he's got a very similar path as what Jadon Sancho was. Left Man City, went to Dortmund under 19s, I think it was, and now gone through into their first team, but he's English. So it would help with the homegrown kind of quota. Yeah, really interesting profile of player. Only 20 years old as well, so ticks the boxes of being young, developmental, could play on that inside left position as well, which we're kind of crying out for, I think, especially if you're going to be looking to remove Garnacho and Rashford for that kind of left 10 position. Would definitely be a I think Bayern Munich are interested in him as well. So the problem is he's valued at 50 million euros on transfer market, which I suppose is not the worst. But again, we're dealing with Dortmund. They're going to want top dollar for their players. When's his contract run out? Actually, let's have a quick look at his contract situation. Contract expires 2028, so he's still got plenty of life left on his contract. So they're not going to be in a position to sell him cheap. But yeah, definitely a player I rate, but want to wait for, I mean, Florian Plettenberg's very credible when it comes to German, as I mentioned before, German and like news and transfers around that. So it's maybe one to keep an eye on. I'll bring you any more updates if anything develops regarding that, because we've got to be signing players, haven't we? The incomings has just gone really dead over the last few days or few weeks, really. It's just all about exits, and that kind of confirms what I and you in the comments, more importantly in the previous kind of videos, have been saying. Sell to buy. We are in a sell to buy situation because of PSR and all the kind of stuff around the mismanagement of the club and the financial situation as well. So until we get some exits, it's going to be really kind of tough, I think, to bring anybody in, which is really annoying because we need bodies. We're crying out for a left fullback, because as I mentioned, even just for rotation options, because even if for example, if Diego Leon was here and fit, you could at least bring him off the bench last night and give Mazraoui a bit of a break. But Mazraoui's having to play every minute of every game at the moment because we've just got nobody else to rotate around, and it's insane to me that. But yeah, I'd love your thoughts on that. Let me know what you think in the comments. And then the final story I've got for you is regarding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So former Manchester United player and manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be announced as new Besiktas manager, with contract ready until June 2026. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back in the management game in Turkey for Besiktas. That'll be interesting to see Ole versus Mourinho, because they had a bit of a clash of heads, didn't they, when they were in the Premier League as well. So fair play to Ole. That's a good move for him as well. So, but yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.